I gotta tell people,
you bring
bro.
up the food, I'm just like,
I gotta tell people about the food, bro. I'm a fat boy, bro. Imagine I went.
Well, no,
there.
because he's always asking me for like food recommendations and stuff, and I'll always be surprising him with like different places because like I tend to like be real diverse in my food selection. One time we were in New York Fashion Week, and I actually, I got a little brave, and I was like, he's like, yo, what can we eat? And I was like, yo, maybe he's ready to go to this experience, And we're in the front of the restaurant. I had already made reservations and everything.
Sorry.
And we're in front of the restaurant, and I look at the menu, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't feel like he's ready. It's like these a la carte, like small plate type of stuff, like heavily designed sushi experience. And I called an audible right there, and I was like, B, I know you don't like this. Like, I'm sure you're not gonna like.
They
this.
have the menu on the window.
Okay.
So part of me is just looking at them, and I'm trying to find anything that I would eat on this menu.
And I see I'm looking at his face, and I'm like, I know.
First of all, we've been walking around New York City. You can't little plate me right now. I need food.
Right.
This is when you want to be bougie. It wasn't a moment at time to be bougie. That's all.
Right.
In any given time, had I been well rested, had I not been walking around New York City doing a photo shoot, like we did a lot in one day, then I would have probably been a little bit more receptive. To the experience.
I hear you.
That's all.
So yeah, man. Long story short, I called an audible, and
it was the world's best audible by far. And he can't say it wasn't a. God don't put us in the wrong places ever. We was meant for the audible to happen because the experience we had at the Thai restaurant. Bar none.
But welcome to the lab, y'all. Another episode. We are here. If y'all don't know what this experience is like, imagine you are at your best friend's party, the holidays, picnic, whatever it is, and you get around with your friends that those types of friends that you like to talk about stuff, whatever it is, life, business, art, the gossip with like whatever's happening out there in the world. That's kind of the vibe of the lab. Today we have a very unique experience and an amazing person that we're gonna get a chance to share this conversation with. But welcome to the lab, my friend. How you doing today?
I can't complain. I'm just grateful due to the fact that I'm here. Not only that, like I said earlier, if I wouldn't have came to that fashion show, I wouldn't have met you, and I would have never ran into you. And due to the fact that I stayed, I'm so grateful that you mentioned the podcast, and I was so eager to be on my first podcast.
Hey man, introduce yourself, because a lot of people. Let me get that mic nice crispy for you.
Sorry.
It's all good. But go ahead and introduce yourself. And the reason that I challenge our guests to introduce themselves. So for y'all trying to come at me in the comments, I'm really good at like bigging up another person. We're gonna use that word. But I feel like everyone needs an opportunity to hear themselves and how they represent their brand. Okay. So no pressure. Yeah. Introduce yourself to our audience. How's it going?
First and foremost, my name is Ryan Morton. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida, born and raised. And I moved down to South Florida 8 years ago, to be exact. I would say the summer of October, give or take, in that area. And the reason for my move was for my wife. And that was the best decision that I ever made, because I started to really see an elevation in comparison to remaining in my home city, Jacksonville, Florida. So it's reassurance based on the people that I met down here. It's reassurance as to why I'm grateful to be here. Like, there are certain moments in my life that happens, or certain people that I meet, towards like, okay, this is why I'm meant to be here, when it comes to inspiration.
That's awesome, man. So, I mean, I know the public may not know you as Ryan. right? So what do you do? What do you go by?
So I go by Zone 4, and the reason being, the reason why I go by the name Zone 4 is because Zone 4 in Jacksonville, Florida, is the zoning of 4 different areas in Jacksonville. You have the West Side, you have Riverside, you have West Connect, you have Ortega Farms. Well, I'm from 2 of those areas. I was raised in 2 of those areas. West Side being exactly at 103rd Street of Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I learned a lot, when it comes to being around an urban community, when it comes to just life, having that a bit of street smarts, just as well as being able to adapt and go to a historic district where I'm from, where I was born, in Riverside. It's tattooed on my shoulder, 2598 Herschel Street. That's the home that I was born in that historic district. And that home was in my family for 2 generations. It was my dad's, and then before him, his grandfather. And I turned out to use that as a real estate logo. Zone 4 is literally the name of both of my ventures. Zone 4 Properties, which my real estate is in Iowa, Jefferson, Iowa to be exact, and then Zone 4 Photography. So naming it as such was important to me because it made me feel as though that I'm taking my city and somewhat of my roots everywhere where I go. So that's always going to be any part of my ventures. It's always going to start with Zone 4. So
wow, man.
Yes, sir.
It's your first time hearing this. Be like,
I got questions already.
Go, line them up.
Why do you have property in Iowa?
So, okay, I'm glad you asked that. So, initially, when I was going to get into real estate, my wife, we sat on the bed, and her mom came in the room, and she was like, Ryan, I know that you said that you want to get involved into real estate. You need to look at this property in Iowa. And I was so fixated and invested into my own city, Jacksonville, Florida, to get started. Well, being a blue collar worker, I'm what you call a merchant mariner. And that funds all of my ventures. And she came into the room and she was like, hey, here's this property in my hometown. And then I was like, hey, Steph, I want to invest in it, Jacksonville. So she looked at me. She was like, babe, I think it's better for you to start in my hometown. And the reason being is because the property is a lot more inexpensive. Okay. And then the second thing is that there's a lot of slumlords and you can make a difference in that town. Because, I was like, okay. And then she gave me food for thought. And I said to myself, why don't I do that? Because it can help me move with real estate at a quicker pace because the properties are a lot less expensive than South Florida. And then the second thing is that it's easy to build a good name for yourself in that small populated town. Just as well as it's easy to build a bad name for yourself in that small town too as well. So my method was buy only properties that you would live in yourself, renovate them the way they needed to be renovated. And not only that, but the renovation, when it comes to these properties, it's a lot less expensive in comparison to big cities, So, but yeah, Iowa, because my wife is originally from a small town called Jefferson, Iowa, 50129 zip code.
Wow.
Yep. So Iowa,
look,
I know
man,
that's so far fetched.
I love Iowa. This is why I asked that because
most people wouldn't say they love Iowa, to be honest.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Okay. I've always had great experience in Iowa.
Okay.
It gives me old town where like everybody knows everybody, right? Everybody works at the nearest factory or everybody like that vibe, right? Mm-hmm. I'm speaking specifically of Dubuque, Iowa is where I flew into. Okay. And where I have some friends in Dubuque. I had the most amazing time in Dubuque, Iowa. Mm-hmm. What I did not know is most people who work in Iowa still live in Chicago. And they travel over that bridge to Iowa because because of Chirac, right? But they make more money working at the casinos, working at all these other places in Iowa. So every time I met somebody in Dubuque, Iowa, they were from Chicago. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, we just come here to work and then we go back.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how far is that drive from Dubuque to Chicago? It can't be that far.
Can't be far.
Can't be that far.
Gotta be less than an hour.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
For me, so I mean, the most impressive thing that I'm getting out of this conversation is that the people that are not from Florida are the people that I need to be talking to. Is that like the gist of it?
He's from Florida, though.
I get he's from Florida, but
he's a hybrid.
Yeah, because the fact that he's been out of Florida, he's gotten the experience, and then now you're back here, you're down in Miami. You could basically say Jacksonville's another state.
Yeah, how far it is from here.
It's a 4.5 hour. Well, from here, it's about a 5.5 hour drive. From where I live, it's roughly 4.5 hours. But with my driving, it's going to take 5 hours. That's, I'm a slow driver. My wife will be the first to tell you. But it is kind of like a different state, because if you go there, it's more southern, like your Carolinas, like your Georgias. It's more southern, and then you come here, it's totally different. Yeah. But you don't, and I'm not shitting on my own city when I say this. After my experience over the past couple years with photography, like I said, it's a reassurance as to why I don't want to go back. I enjoy visiting and embracing my city, and I love it through and through, but this is where I belong, in my personal opinion. And I think that, being here will constantly elevate me and help me grow in a lot of other ways. So I love it here.
For you, though, I don't think it's a...
What is it?
You know how you're like, yo, I gotta just hang out with people that's not from Florida.
Like, I don't understand.
I think it's any city that you go to. I don't know if it's a comfortable thing that it keeps people not going to experience different things, right? So, like, I got people, I'm from Delaware originally, right? I got people who've never left Delaware. They don't know anything, a pinky toe outside of the state limits.
Yeah. And when they see you, like, posting all this type of stuff, what do they say? Like, you're in another planet?
He thinks he's better than everybody, right? And it's like, I think I'm better because I go to Philly to get my cheesesteak. It's only a 30-minute ride. If I live in Delaware, Philly has the best cheesesteaks. Why not just take the 30 minutes to get the best?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Delaware is a hub of, like, we're 30 minutes from Philly. We're 2 hours from New York. We're right over the bridge to Maryland. We're right next to New Jersey. And these people still have never left Delaware. And then the real stubborn people who live in Wilmington don't go to Newark, which is the suburb area. Like, it's like the people that live in Broward or Palm Beach, like, oh, I don't go to Miami. Or the people in Miami, like, oh, I don't go Palm Beach. I don't go up there. It's like you're talking another language.
Yeah.
It's so much different experiences just going one county over that it's like, why would you just limit yourself to the zip code?
I feel like we want to, if we're zooming out in this conversation, you want to apply that to, like, everything you do. Like, that comfort that you feel from being in your neighborhood or being with your friends is something that you should be very afraid of.
Facts.
Because I feel like when you're there, you're going to be stuck, complacent. You're just going to be, like, going towards the things that just make you feel that feel good feeling. But when you put yourself outside of it and you have to go somewhere else, or even if you apply it to events, like just doing networking events, and you're going now to a networking event, that alone is very uncomfortable because you're now not in a mix that you're used to being in. And then the more you get comfortable with being, like, that uncomfortable, chase it. It's like chase that feeling as opposed to chase the feeling of being under the covers.
Yeah.
It was like this morning, I had to wake up at 5 a.m, right? But the alarm, I heard the alarm. I subconsciously saw the alarm, got up. You ever get up before the alarm rings?
Right.
Got up. I look at the button that says snooze on the screen, and I'm like, I hit it. And it was almost like like I couldn't stop myself from hitting it. And I just hit it. And then 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, like something in my body was like, yo, get out of it. Snap out of it. You got to get up. You ain't going to make it down to Miami. I live in Pembroke Pines. It's not an easy journey sometimes. If you leave 1 minute late, you're going to get caught in some serious traffic, right? So it's just like, how do we go about life reminding ourselves to listen to that, like, jarring, like, yo, wake up. Like, get to it. As opposed to, nah, man, we could chill, right? Like, relax. Take it easy. Stop stressing. You see how your mind is like fighting with you constantly? Let's stress. No, let's go. Yeah. It's like that thing that you talked about. You always have, like, an angel and a devil on each side. And you're just like, what do I do?
My devil is the most hood ghetto devil you will ever meet.
You a petty ass.
My devil is still hood, bro. So when he creeps in, it's like, oh, this dude, man, you trying to pull me back to somewhere I've been delivered from. Like, no, but I think the thing is, like, for me personally, all the businesses that I've started here in Florida, I would have never been able to do in Delaware. It wouldn't have worked. On another note, to see the impact that I've made in Florida in less than 10 years is crazy to me. Because it's like I came here and didn't know a soul. Didn't know nobody. I came here with a car full of sneakers and a Kia Optima and a laptop. Yeah. That was it. No friends. Wasn't even... My photography journey didn't even start yet. It was just like, yo, I was a retired rapper, basically, coming here, trying to finish up my career, and that was going to be it for me. And I was just going to go get a job somewhere. That was it. This is where people go to retire. That's where I'll be.
Yeah.
So now it's just like to look at, like, Save the Creatives, all of these businesses, all of these people that I've been able to meet. And it's just like, people back home from Delaware looking at my Instagram like, how? How did he go down there and do what he been doing here all of this time? It doesn't matter. So 2024, with a relocation, I'm going to do it in another state.
Exactly.
I honestly, it's inspiring to hear him talk about that stuff because as a first generation, in my family, getting that to see them do the same thing, going from Dominican Republic to then the usual track of going to New York, then being in New York and establishing ourselves there. My mom got a job with her degree and all that good stuff. And then having to start over again and come down to Florida, like, to me, just baffles my mind. And it wasn't even just relocation from the sense of an environment, but also from the language. Like, she didn't know any English. She barely still speaks English now. Like, she could get by. My dad doesn't speak English at all. He has a couple of words, but it's like going from those different places and reinventing yourself and seeing what version of you comes out is very inspiring. Like, I still have yet to take on that challenge of truly relocating myself. Like, I'm thinking of going like Japan type of deal. Because, again, language totally different, environment totally different, culture totally different, to see if I can give that experience to my kids. Because it's just something that I feel like made me who I am today, to be able to do that. But, like, the bravery it takes to do it. It's really crazy, man. For you, how was that? Like, you come from Jacksonville. You know, what was your upbringing like? If we could,
let's dabble into it. My upbringing, I'm gonna cut straight to the chase. So, when I lived in Jacksonville, Florida, growing up, I was in and out of foster care systems. You know what I'm saying? Like, when my biological mom, she had a drug addiction. My father, he died, and then losing all these deaths or whatever that I saw, so to speak, and not to go get morbid, because these are things that I sincerely love talking about. Man. Like, because it's reality. We're all gonna croak, some way, shape, or form. But going through foster care and not seeing my mom and things of that nature, and just everything that I've been through. Well, in 1998, that's when I got adopted by my aunt and uncle, and I stayed with them from 1998. 1999 all the way through 2010-ish, and I left on bad terms. When I left on bad terms, I ended up moving out and staying with friends and things of that nature while working, and it was one of the best decisions. Even though it was bad terms, it was one of the best decisions. Reason being is because I wanted to prove to them that I sincerely don't need your money. I sincerely don't need anything from you, because with our culture, there's a tendency to, like, hey, I'm going to do this for you, but you piss me off and I'm going to hold this over your head. And me and my wife had these conversations time and time again. I wanted to prove to them that I can survive without you, even if I struggle, which happened, poor credit, all that other shit. And then you learn beyond that. And then when I became a merchant mariner, that's when I had just moved down here. A year after I had just moved down here, and it was one of the best decisions of my life, because I started to, it wasn't easy at the beginning because I didn't have any friends. I didn't have nobody down here. And it's kind of going back to what you said, like, you left Delaware, and I respect you for that. You left Delaware and to build everything that you've built, you know?
Crazy.
So with that said, adding on to that, I started to meet my people. I said, okay, oh shit, you don't have friends down here, but you can choose the people that you want in your circle. The friends that I had back home in Jacksonville, Florida, some of them, or associates, because as you get older, you realize you really don't have that many friends. The associates that I had, I was like, okay, it's okay if you want to be complacent, but a lot of people don't do well with change. And I realized that. It's not you per se. Most people start to deflect because they're not comfortable with your transition, which I'm pretty sure that we all have experienced that. Like you guys got this beautiful place where you can host this podcast. You have all your ventures, what you do, and people don't feel comfortable with that. And I had to learn, like, okay, that's okay. Those that will gravitate towards me will gravitate towards me. So anyway, going back to answer your question, when I moved down here, it wasn't an easy adjustment at first. And, you know, me and Stephanie, my wife or whatever, we had a tiff back and forth, and, you know, and she tried to help me. She's like, listen, you know, here's coffee. You like coffee shops, go to coffee shops. You know, that's where I started to relate to you, write my music. I would spend time there, write music hours at a time. Turn out that wasn't really, you know, the thing for me. And then I said, oh shit, since you travel for work as a merchant mariner, pick up photography. So I saved up money, got my first camera. And my whole goal was to take pictures of places that I travel. So when I do have a kid in the future, I will be able to show them like, hey, this is where your dad has been, you know? And that turned into going to my first fashion show in 2018. It was like boutique-ish. And I was like, that was a pivotal moment for me. I'm like, okay, this is where you belong with photography. So start learning about textiles, even though that don't have anything to do with you. Your goal is to be able to capture the subject, we're in the piece, but learn about textiles, learn about the designers, the old school designers that have been around, you know, Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, learn about Dolce & Gabbana, you know, all of those. And so I started to really, really immerse myself in that. And then I got a subscription to Vogue magazine, and that's when I started to like really, really read, and I only read that magazine to read inspirational stories in there. And that would constantly keep me motivated, you know? So 2018 is when I started to shoot fashion.
To really get into it. All right. Well, I mean, I want to separate everything you've said into three categories and see if we can dive into these conversations, right? So first we have the bravery and courage of you stepping out alone and being able to like go put yourself in an uncomfortable environment, right? Then the second one is you being able to not make yourself smaller, but you actually being able to like step into your authentic self, and it's okay for you to be that person because of the people that you grew up with. You didn't want to make yourself too little. Like you still wanted to do your thing. So whatever it is that they were looking forward to, they just need to keep following you, right? We want to dive into those conversations. And then the third one is the fact that you self-developed, like how important that was. So again, I'm going to repeat it because we're going to dive into it and we're just going to have a conversation around it. The first one is you separating yourself and just going out there alone and trying to venture and survive. Then you have the ability of stepping into your authentic self no matter the consequences. And then the self-development piece of you being able to learn this new craft, okay? All right, cool. So now we laid the layout of the land.
All right.
I'm going to start off with the first one. And the way I'm going to put it into a frame so that we could have a conversation, I'm Dominican. And in Dominican culture, we're mama's boys. I'm going to put it straight up. And if you're Dominican watching out there and you're not a mama's boy, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But it is what it is. Most Dominicans will constantly talk to their mothers. They tend to live around their mothers, if not live in the house of their parents. It could be a Caribbean thing. It could be an island thing. But for me, it's like I've rethought the idea of family as opposed to this American view of, hey, I need to grow up, get out of school, get a house, have kids, and move away from my parents. Like that's the way I have to do it because I have to prove to them that I can survive on my own. That's typically the conversation, right? But what about the view of being able to stick together? Let's pull our resources together and let's actually grow so that we're not having 2 mortgages. Let's just have a huge ass house. Right. Like there is a lot of that conversation happening right now outside of not just the American culture, but also a lot of the things that we talk about that have influenced the American culture. Like you always talk about like what is American cuisine if not a theft of all the other cuisines around the world.
America steals. There is no American cuisine. America's the biggest thieves of everything. We go to Europe, we go to the islands, we go to Africa, we go to all of these places, go to Asia, and we bring all of their stuff, and we call American cuisine the gumbo of stuff we stole, basically.
So you feel strongly about that. I knew it would strike a chord, so that's where I would bring it up. But like, what's the thought process around pooling your resources as opposed to like, hey, let me venture out and show and prove that I can survive?
I like that. Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you one thing. And this is just urban culture, whether you're Hispanic, African American, that's a generational condition that's been taught for so long that you only feel like you're going to be successful if you change the status quo. So if the status quo is, well, this is how my grandmother did it, and this is how I had this conversation with my mom, and like, why were you Baptist when it came to religion? Oh, because your grandmother took us to a Baptist church, and her grandmother took her to a Baptist church. And I'm like, so why nobody ever tried Muslim?
Right.
She's like, well, that's just not what we was taught. So now when we have this thing of like, okay, this is let's say that's the standard, right? Let's bring our resources together and then do something big for the collective. Well, nobody's ever done that. That's not comfortable for people because they only seen this version of once you 18, you out of my house, go fend for yourself.
That's not common or comfortable in our cultures. Like you said it best. Yeah. But this has been going on since the 20s, man. Like way 100%. Before that, right? We're talking about these big families that maybe if you're not privy to it or you haven't dove into it, these 1%ers, right? The people that have carried that generational wealth.
The Hiltons, right? The Waltons, the Rockefellers. Paris Hilton and them was all still living at their parents' house, and they all was rich. Mm-hmm. But the house was so big, you had your own wing probably. But that's the difference between like the circumstance don't allow that. The system don't allow that. Think about when a child turns 18, the dad is so glad he don't have to pay child support no more. Because now you on your own. Everything's conditioned around you gonna be on your own at 18, figure it out.
Yeah. And go ahead. And see, now that I'm older, and that's 100% true, now that I'm older, the community, the neighborhood that I grew up in, when I got adopted in 1999 and moved out in 2010, 2011, the neighborhood that I grew up in, I now see what a lot of those parents were doing. And the kids, it was predominantly Asian. You were either Filipino, Laotian, Cambodian, or Vietnamese in that community. And I saw, going back to what you said, Dominicano, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so your culture understands community. Your culture, your household, they understood community. They understood pulling the resources together. So that was there, which is so beautiful. And going back to the Asian culture in that neighborhood, now that I used to peep game, and I'm like, and a lot of them, that's what they did. They understood community and they pulled their money together. Vietnamese culture, same thing. Mm-hmm. You'll have like 6 or 7 people living in a house that's like maybe 1,000 square foot. But he's like, oh, I work this career or job and I make $6,000, figuratively speaking, I make $6,000 a month, but I'm only having to contribute $400 a month in rent. Stacked plus up. Myself, he can stack bread. He can stack bread. So now when I do have a kid, no son or daughter, you don't have to. If you graduate high school, you do not have to move out so soon. You can stay here as long as you like. If you say that, hey, I want to save a little bit more money and I can do it, pull back on your rent a little bit because I want to see you have a better life and be far more ahead than I do. We have a tendency, going back to the culture, we have a tendency to push our kids out, even if we do have the resources and the ability to keep them in the house a little bit longer, you know. But I love what you said, because there was a sense of community that was understood in your household, and I respect that truly.
But look how crazy it is. The sense of community sometimes comes with a slippery slope.
Yeah.
What ends up happening is you get this mother instinct, this nurturing instinct of, let me keep the child close, let me provide, right? Because as a parent, that's what you want to do. But then at what cost? What are you teaching?
You're crippling.
What are you enabling?
That's true too. That's true too.
Interesting perspective. I moved out at 17.
Yeah.
Because my mother had rules. So it wasn't that I didn't mind being there, but it was just like, as I'm getting older, I'm not getting any more freedom. And I would think the older I'm getting and I'm becoming a little bit more responsible, and now I'm holding a job that you can let go of that nurturing leash a little bit and let me breathe. Well, she didn't let me breathe, so I moved out at 17. Now my sister now that still lives with my mom at 22, she was the opposite, because my mom seen what happened when she raised me, that she don't want this to happen to my sister, right? The problem is my sister is sheltered. I got the ability to get the street smarts and the book smarts that now I can see stuff. My sister's so naive because she's been in this motherly cocoon. She don't know the street smarts. She don't know the guys that she's dealing with or manipulators. She can't see this. She thinks everybody's a good person because she's souped up on Nickelodeon and Disney, right? That everything's happy.
Yeah.
So now she's not ready to go out there at 22. They're gonna chew her up.
Yeah.
So it's like, at what do you sacrifice? Like, I love that aspect of the community part, but at what cost does it affect them being out here to survive in the real world?
I see.
Yeah, man. I mean, we could definitely shift this into second gear, because the idea is we're now starting the conversation around that natural instinct of nurturing, taking care of family, making sure you're not leaving them out in the cold.
Yeah.
But then there is this process that we know other cultures are going by, and let's just keep it frank and 100. Like, the white community just has it dialed in because of what they do. Like, they create this generational wealth. A lot of them do, from what I've seen. And there's a lot that are people in our cultures, like in Black, Hispanic cultures, that are now starting to adapt these practices. So there has to be, I feel like, a balance between that nurture, taking care of, to what am I doing to challenge and develop this person so then they can be successful or be a better version of me, right? You've seen Grant Cardone and how he treats his child.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you got to do sales calls, right? Or I'll pay you salary, right? Shaq, the way Shaq does it. I recently ran across this video of an Asian family. And I feel like this example, compared to the Shaq and the Cardone stuff, is a little bit more closer to home to me, because you could see it in the video. They are in one room. All their clothes is not in a closet. It's in the room, laid out. You have this big bed, and the computer is there. And the two sons are there showing the parents the success that they've had in their online store. Now, the video escalates where the kids are sitting here saying, hey, we bought you tickets for you guys to go and have an anniversary, a fun time in Hawaii, right?
Okay.
They start showing how much the tickets cost. Well, we got you business class and first class, $27,000. That's just the airline. The whole flight is going to cost $60,000. In an Asian family, that's like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? But these two kids had already gone out, experimented, solved the problem, developed an idea and a product, sold this product to a point where they were making so much revenue that they could retire their parents. Retire your parents.
Right.
I can't. I'm 41 years old, y'all, and it's not to say that I'm gonna check off the box that I failed at life. Mm-hmm. But if I could fucking retire my parents, I don't know the feeling of that, you know?
Yeah.
And if it's not your parents, like your family, whoever it is, like all of y'all, like Shaq hires his family to take on Five Guys franchises.
Yeah.
Like we want that for our family, but how do we get over the hump of living the day-to-day life, struggling paycheck to paycheck, saving up as much money, buying a house, and now still trying to set up our family for success? How is that even possible in this day and age?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's a tough thing because I mean you want to go first? Sorry.
It's on you. Go ahead.
We're chilling.
I got a lot to say.
Okay, it's a tough thing because I mean it goes back to the environment that you may be from. You know, a lot of people would say, oh, you know, stop making excuses, that victim mentality. But then it really does go back whether you're Latino or whether you're black or whether you're any ethnical group. It goes back to the where you're from and then how your mind is conditioned to as well. But then resources. It also goes back to resources as well. You know, if you lack the resources like community centers for kids, because I mean, all of it is about development. If you look at a 30-year-old's timeline of events within his life, if he never had no resources in his community, he's not being taught at the core, meaning his core being at his own household, they lack knowledge or that ability or that mindset to be able to equip that child for the world and to be able to be in that position in the future. The resources aren't there. The community centers aren't there. The job opportunities aren't there. The salaries aren't there. You know, that may cripple you. However, opportunity may come. You may come from all those circumstances, and one opportunity may get thrown from you. You may be from an urban environment, and one opportunity may get thrown in front of you to where you can do that. I think it's circumstantial, if that's even a word. I think it is circumstantial. But being able to retire your parents is so freaking ideal. I would love to retire my in-laws. You know what I'm saying? Because they're more like, and I'm not shitting on my parents when I say this, but they are more like a parent that, like my mother-in-law, she's more like a mom to me than my own mom. You know what I'm saying? Like she's more, I value her that much.
Same with my wife's a similar situation where my mom takes care of her a lot more than her mom.
Right.
Did,
and I'll tell you why I would retire her before my own parents. This may sound hardcore. If my family is watching this may piss you off. It may be misunderstood, but I'm going to cut straight to the chase when I say this. Because the older that I get, the more I realize family is, like Nipsey Hussle said, family is defined by blood, not loyalty. When I went home to my parents, and it kind of makes me tear up a little bit. When I went home to my parents, me and my wife was visiting my aunt and uncle, who's my adoptive parents. And then he says, have you been around to go visit your brother and, you know, such and such? And I said, yeah, I'll get around to it. I'll make a call. Well, anyway, we got into the topic about family. And I said, Pops, let me tell you this, because now I've been out of the house for a long period of time. So now it's like you think you know me, but you really don't. There was this whole window of time that I went without seeing you to where there's been development, there's growth. You shouldn't stay the same. So I'll go around and we sit on the couch and he says, you know, family is everything, such and such. And when I said, Pops, family is defined by blood, not only blood, but it's defined by loyalty. In other words, those that you have commonalities with, you can build your family around you. Going back to my mother-in-law, the reason why I would retire her before my own family is because of relationship. The relationship is effortless, you know. And then with my own parents, it's hard to, it's a job. It's so much of a job over the years because all it is me driving 4.5 hours to get there. And all it is me consistently trying to build a relationship with my family. So I'll retire people that don't look like me, who I hone in on those relationships, and also people that are not tied to me by blood because of the relationship over the years, the timeline of events that I've had with them. You know, like when you're really down and out and those people are there, that's family. So I would, you know, that's my take on it.
You're up, B.
All right, I'm gonna say some stuff right now that may sound controversial.
Disclaimer.
As black people, we were brought to this country to serve. right? If an Indian comes to America, he could get a line of credit from an Indian bank and start a business.
Very true.
If an Asian person comes to America, he can get a line of credit from the Bank of Asia and start a business. We can't even be deported back to Africa. The resources, we never been privy to have access to resources because that's not what we was brought here for. We was brought here to serve. So the mindset that has to be broken is so many generations removed that, bro, we conditioned to not know any better. Everything is survival. How do I survive and get out of this, right? So you run the risk of like, okay, if I do survive this and I want to do something for my people, this means I have to go over here and learn from these other people.
Very true.
Right? Now you're too good for your own people because you're considered the bougie black person. Mm-hmm. But you became bougie because you got knowledge of what the other side is doing to progress. Right? Now when you go back, we can use Nipsey Hussle as an example. Look what happens when you stay in your same community that you're trying to help build. He's a target. You can't even stay there once you gain knowledge. You can't even go get the knowledge and bring it back because we're conditioned to survive. Mm-hmm. We're not conditioned to talk community and grow, right? Every black person that gets some money, they got a Jewish accountant. Why? Because you can't trust the black accountant. You don't know what he doing with your money. He trying to flip it. And I have to talk like this because it's the truth. We don't trust our own people because we got PTSD from the time we actually tried to work with our people. I still got a guy owe me money that he didn't do no construction work on my house. That now I still got to go to small claims court. Yeah. And I'm just like, I try to do the brotherly thing, like help him out, help another black man out. But now I have PTSD and I will probably never give another black person the opportunity.
I hear you.
So it's like, it's different. Mm-hmm. Our minds is so fucked up, bro.
I mean, it's the same even Dominican culture. Like, I can't talk Dominican. Like, I was born in Santiago. Yeah. I came here at a very, very young age, and I've now reestablished my connection with my roots because of, Fernando and my Dominican little crew.
I just want, before you go, I just want to preface this. Hispanics are Spanish-speaking Africans. Go.
But when you say that, it's funny that you say that because a lot of people, we always try to see ourselves in others.
Got it.
So whenever I say I have a pass, and I'm gonna go on the controversial route to it along with you. Fuck it, we're going in. We're diving off the deep end.
Early morning.
I got a hood pass, man. Like, I'm gonna be straight up. I have a hood pass. With this white complexion that I got, I am still able to relate to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different people. And I've gotten the comment of like, you have a little black in you, don't you? Right?
It's there.
And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Yeah. No, your nose and your beard is like, it's like, no, you have to. Spanish and I'm just African. Like, I'm like, yo, like, it's all good. Like, we're all one people. Yeah. We're all humans, right? But like, I share that same feeling that you shared, where it's like, I don't want to put my people out in the dust and in the cold, but it's like, it's so hard to relate to a conditioned mind when they are stuck in poverty.
You can't break
like the rich is not just monetary, people.
Facts.
Yeah.
When I say I'm rich, it's not because I have a mansion or I have a Lamborghini or I have all these fancy things.
Yeah.
It's because I have first established wealth in my mind, in the knowledge, in problem solving, in public speaking. Those are the things that I've decided to hone in on because they've given me the best results. They've led me in the best direction for me to be happy. Mm-hmm. So I feel like when we're confronted with these people, we see the weight that they carry, and we know we're going to get dragged down.
Yeah.
I think 50 Cent said in his book, I always talk about this because I love the way he narrated that and how he executed that whole book. But he has this section where he talks about survival. And if someone's clinging on to you because they were in your neighborhood or because they were with you as you struggled and you were coming out of it, they're going to cling on to you because you're the one swimming the hardest.
Yeah.
But best believe if they stay stuck to you, they're going to pull you right back down to those same tendencies, those same plays.
Yeah.
I'm saying keywords because they're going to trigger him. But the idea is that
I hear you.
These things you have to like almost beat off of you with violence. Like, hopefully you're not punching people in the face and like, get the fuck off of me.
Right.
But you're being your authentic self. And I feel like that's where it's going to allow us to now have this conversation or this bridge of, do I make myself smaller in certain environments just because I am surrounded by people that remind me of where I used to be and I want to bring them along, but I can't show them who I now am because it's going to scare them to the point where they're either not going to listen to me or I can't influence them to come over.
Yeah.
Right? What do you choose? Do you make yourself relatable or smaller? Or do you step into this thing because you've gone through all those trials and that struggle and you know what you have to do to be that person?
Yeah.
Do you stay in that frequency? Like, what do you do? I struggle with that a lot. I don't know about y'all, but I do struggle with being.
You want to answer first?
You go first.
You do your thing.
That question that you asked was like so straight to the point, and and for viewers, I don't understand how you can miss that question because it was direct and clear. And I love that question that you asked because at first I struggled with that because it goes back to this. It's like now that I got to a place where it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you do try to make yourself relatable, now you're shrinking parts of yourself just to fit their spaces. Fuck that. I mean, excuse my language.
No, do you think?
Oh, can I?
No.
You can curse.
All right.
Well, I've cursed a bunch of times.
Because that's how I talk. Like when me and my wife are in the same circle, we have these conversations while we're driving, and I talk about my experience. But now, fuck that, because now the new you. I mean, with we supposed to evolve as humans. You can explain in great detail until you're blue into your face of why you want them to come along. They don't want it for themselves. And then now the fact that you're helping them, they think that you're better. They're going to start to deflect. And then they may not do it in front of your face, but behind closed doors to those people that you have left behind in that same circle, because they have that commonality of staying complacent. They're all talking about you. And now you 100%. Think, now you're feeling to yourself like, damn, you're finding out through the grapevine, like, damn, I didn't know that he felt this way about me. Like, all I ever tried to do was just like bring him along my journey. And then now, Angel, boom. For example, he's a commercial real estate investor. Hey, man, come along, man. Come on, let me show you how I did this. Get your credit right. Do whatever it may be. Boom. Now you got your podcast, Hey, man, come on, man. Dude. Boom. Now you got a residential rental property. And he's seeing all of that progress, but all you're doing is trying to bring him along. You're showing him the paperwork. Like, this is how I did it. This is what I did it. This is exactly how I did it. And they just don't want to come along. So now it may be envy that they have against you, and you may not even know it. But your conscience speak to you. So now when you elevate, the way I came to grips with that is like, the more I elevate, the more I want to stay away and only be around people or whatever that shares that same mindset, like you guys. Like you guys. It's very, very important to leave that light behind and only allow those people who latch on, keep them along or whatever, because you see the hunger in them and that they do want to progress, but not everybody want to progress. And then that could be a dangerous thing, especially if you come from an urban environment. I know when I go, even though I don't come from the hood, based on who the friends that I surrounded myself around with, a lot of these people are good people, but at the end of the day, when you're in a jungle or surrounded by the jungle, if a lion wants to eat, he's going to eat. So now when I go to Jacksonville, Florida, I breeze through, I only see certain people. My good friend and one of my closest friends, DJ, he's a priority, and his girl Madison, they're a priority when I visit the city, because I know that that's a safe space, and I know that we have that same mindset and we motivate each other. But people that I used to know, I wouldn't go around them at all, because now they're looking at, going back to what you said, social media. They don't see the hard work that Barion put in. They don't see the hard work that you put in. All they see is where you're at. Oh, he looked like a lick. Run that. That's how you have to think like the streets. You really, really have to think like the streets, because even though that may not be their intentions, it's a safe thinking process for me to be on my P's and Q's, because I no longer am who I used to be. I'm at this place. They see that, they want that. So I only surround myself around people that are in that somewhat of that same wavelength of thinking and in that world of creativity, or, people like you guys. So you can help somebody, but a lot of people just don't want that help. They really don't.
No, 100%.
The thing I think is the worst part of that scenario is you really just trying to help, right?
Yeah.
But in the back of their mind, they're thinking, well, why him, not me? That's always it. It's like, when I go back to Delaware, I don't post that I'm in town. I post when I'm on the flight back home. Like, Delaware, it's been real. And then everybody like, oh, I didn't know you was in the city. Nah, on purpose.
Yeah.
It's on purpose. Because as small as Delaware is, Wilmington, Delaware is still number 7 on the most dangerous places to live.
Yes, it is.
Right? And the first sign when you come in the state is a place to be somebody. And now they've graffitied over a place to be somebody, and now it's called Murder Town. Wow. And they're embracing that.
Yeah.
So if you're embracing, I don't need to be there. You're embracing killing. You're competing with Philadelphia on deaths per year.
Yeah.
Like, nah, it's nowhere I need to be. But the thing is like, I'm cool. I got cool with letting people be where they want to be. And it took a long time to get there. And I'll just straight up tell them, oh, you like being broke? Cool. You like being unknowledgeable? Cool. Watch me win over here. Maybe I'll still help you one day. Who knows?
Open door policy.
But the broken mindset is the toughest to fix.
It's hard, yeah.
I've been trying to show people what personal branding has done for me personally. Friends, family, like, yo, if you take this personal brand thing serious, doors will open, things will happen. Trust me, it happened for me. You see what's happening to me. Why wouldn't you not take my advice? They don't take your advice because that's not how they met you.
Right.
They didn't meet you as the expert. They met you as the person who grew up with them. So they're never going to take your advice. Who is him telling me how to grow a personal brand?
Yeah.
Like, we from the same hood.
Right.
That's their mindset, right?
Very true.
Angel is my perfect case study of somebody who took the information. I'm like, yo, Angel, work on your personal brand. He's like, all right, man. And he just went all in. Just did it. He's like, yo, it's not going to hurt me to try this. Angel's older than me, taking advice from somebody younger than him. But look at the results. You can't argue with the results. So now everybody trying to get in the circle. Oh, like how can I get in there, man? I see y'all doing it. Nah, it's too late. I told you that stuff 2 years ago. This somebody in 6 months. Put the work in.
We only met a year and a half ago, by the way.
People think I know Angel all my life.
That speaks volumes.
And we met through the DM.
He slid in my DMs, bro.
Like,
But this is the thing.
Deep.
Imagine how many people you've known over 2 decades. You never made no money with them. You never collaborated on nothing. You never started a business together. You never did anything collaborative. And then think about the people that you've met in the last year that you've done more with than those 2-decade-year-old friends.
Yeah.
We're not friends no more, is where I'm at with it.
Right. It's black and white.
I tell people, I've been in Florida 10 years. If you have yet to visit me in Florida, you don't even know me. I deleted my Delaware number. Got rid of the phone and everything. You don't even know me if you ain't been here to visit me in Florida. Don't hit me with the, yo, bro, just checking in. Who's this? Because you're going to get the who's this. Who's this?
Yeah.
because I definitely don't have your number.
Yeah, who's this?
Right?
And that's not that you think that, and people on the outside were looking in, they would say like, oh, he think he's better than us. Some of the viewers, they may look at it as that, and it's not like that. You just don't have time for the bullshit anymore.
I don't.
Like,
Well, he doesn't want to get
space.
dragged back down into that space.
Right.
Because that space is going to put him in a mentality of like scarcity. We got to come up with plays to kind of survive and stuff like that, which is similar to me. Like I grew up in the streets as well. Like not to say my parents like put me out there. My parents still together, but everybody has their own drama. Like people swear that like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. Everybody's fucked up. Like we all just hide it a bit differently, right?
Oh yeah.
And we survive differently. So I feel like as you go through it, you develop this instinct without knowing that once you see what you used to do, once you feel it or you're around it, you're like, I got to get away from this.
100%.
Like I can't be near this because I feel it. I feel myself going back into that mentality, right? And I think the one thing, now I don't want to put out there the fact that like, yo, we know everything, we're experts, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's so many gurus out there that came out through the pandemic and all that stuff. Like, I'm gonna be straight up, the pandemic did change a lot of people. It opened up my eyes. It allowed me, it pushed me outside my comfort zone. But I'm gonna be straight up, like, I don't know everything. I don't know the answer to everything. And I tell my clients that, even in consultations, I'm like, we're gonna work together. The one skill I've honed is problem solving. Through problem solving, I can't know every answer. I have to be able to experiment, test, find out what works, what doesn't work for different people, right? But throughout that came self-development because you're on your own. You have to figure it out. I learned photography on my own.
Yeah.
YouTube University was my favorite friend. I would just be watching videos all day long. But it baffles me how sometimes I run across some people that say they don't know because they don't have access to the knowledge.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, no, you have no,
Excuses.
you look, 10 years ago, maybe.
Ignorance.
20 years ago, okay, I get it.
Right.
Now, you're fucking stupid. Get the fuck out of here.
Excuses.
I'm sorry. Google it.
Right.
Like, okay, look, there are people that shoot me questions through the DM or text message, and I'm like, oh, okay, look, I'll help you out. Like, no worries, because I have an open door policy. B knows my policy. I always try to help out where I can because I'm in servant leadership. Like, I love to serve. I love to be there for people. But these questions I get sometimes, man, it's literally a Google search away.
Yeah.
I have to fight every troll instinct in me to not be able to go to let me Google that for you. If you don't know about that, it's an OG site. If someone Googles you a question, go to let me Google that for you. Put in the question into the little thing. It creates an animation, sends them a link. It's showing them typing the phrase out into the Google search box. Because the answers are on the internet. And it's not just the internet now, because now we're in the world of AI.
Yeah.
The answers are in AI. Like, there's so much that's going to come from this revolution, but you have to be fearless in the approach of just ask questions. And if you don't have another human being to ask that question to, ask it to the AI, ask it to the internet, whatever, but pull the knowledge together. You're going to find the answer. Can you get shortcuts by paying a mentor? Yes. Can you speed up your process? Yes. Because there's a lot of people doing master classes out there. Some work, some don't.
Yeah.
But if you don't have resources, you don't have the money to invest time into learning, and don't think that you're going to run out of time.
Right.
I'm 41 and I still have at least a good 10 years till I hit the breaking point of like people being successful. Like, there's a statistic that most successful like companies like Ford and all these people made it at a very late age. It's not this whole thing of like, oh, I got to be a millionaire at 20 because this Bitcoin guy bought all this Bitcoin. No, like you still got time, bro. I've seen my dad reinvent himself 5 different times. He's now an influencer on YouTube, making over 5 to 10K a month on all the platforms that he has monetized.
Right.
Sitting at home right now texting me because his mouse is not working.
right.
Like, get the hell out of here. He's 67 years old making money off of the internet when the internet didn't exist when he grew up.
Yeah.
So you can't sit here and telling me, sitting watching us or hearing us on whatever platform you're on, that you can't figure it out. Just find what you want and chase it. Like, for you're starting to dabble in photography, but you're probably starting to see that the career you followed might not be something that you really like or love as a passion, but you're using that 9 to 5 to fund your passion that you have discovered, and now you're developing yourself during that time. But like, what brought that on? Like, what sparked that development journey for you?
First, going back to it, the career part of it, time. I needed something. I did 2 weeks of college. You know, I went did 2 weeks at Florida State College of Jacksonville. It was a community college.
You did 2 weeks?
I did 2 weeks. Okay. I kid you not. I did only 2 weeks of college to realize that that's not. A lot of my friends that were graduating that were older, who graduated 3-4 years before me. Statistics at that time, I think it was like 2008, 2009, in that era. A lot of them were graduated with degrees at that time to where there was no jobs. Because the industry, corporate America, had switched at that time. Going back to my career, I just want to dabble into this a little bit. So if you came out with a bachelor's degree, at the time it held no value. It switched. It was almost like a bachelor's degree was now like an associate's. Having an associate's was like having a high school diploma. The industry switched in the sense that even in the blue collar work world, if it required a degree, it's like, okay, I can pay Ryan or Barion $70,000, but he's going to get that hands-on experience starting out, and he didn't go to college, as opposed to paying somebody with a fucking piece of paper who graduated from a 4-year university, and I have to pay that person $106,000. So the industry had switched at that time. So I was scared of that. But that was at the same time when I was working at the dealership, and I looked at CNN of the students that the statistics of people graduating with a degree. That made me fearful. I lost my job, got laid off, working at the dealership, and that's when I started working at the shipyard at the time, and I discovered this industry. So going back to what you said, it was time that this career would allow me. I wanted something that would give me a sense of freedom, a sense of a good deal of money to be able to save up and put in for my retirement, 401ks and all that other stuff, just as well as do the things that I love to do. Me and my wife love to travel. So becoming a merchant mariner was the best decision of my life because it did free up time and it did free up money to be able to invest in my other things that I do.
What's a merchant mariner?
Oh, okay, got you. So
I gotta do this for the people that's watching this.
Yeah,
feel free. You probably know because you're from up north.
Well, going back to Wilmington, Delaware, actually I've been there for work related, and we were hauling around crude oil. So to answer his question, be a merchant mariner, a lot of people think it's military. It's not military. So I have certificate documents from the Coast Guard because the Coast Guard control the waterways. I sail on ships that carry cargo, the cargo being crude oil or everything that's at your local gas station. A lot of people don't understand how they get their gas. Well, it comes by the ship. So it's roughly 300 to 700,000 barrels of either crude oil or all in total clean product. Clean product being your premium, regular diesel and jet fuel. So that's what I do. So my primary responsibility is connecting the hose to where we're going to either discharge the cargo or take on the cargo. And also when we're underway, when we set sail, my job is to steer the vessel. So you have 4 hours of navigational watch. So you're steering the vessel for 4 hours, or you and your guy alternate hour on, hour off. And once the vessel get out, the seas are calm, then it's put on autopilot. So you stand a watch just in case if the vessel needs to go back into autopilot. So that's pretty much what a merchant mariner, that's part of what a merchant mariner is. So sometimes I'm here in Port Everglades. I will go to the Gulf, Mississippi River, or Texas, pick up fuel, bring it to the Port Everglades. We discharge it there, 300,000-400,000 barrels, whatever it may be, and then take off, repeat the process. Sometimes I'm in Tampa or...
How long are you on the water, like, for times at a time?
Well, now it's generally 30 to 45 days. When I first started, I used to be gone for 4 months at a time. Wow. When I first started, I was over in Guam and Saipan, over in, the Northern Mariana Islands. I was going for 4 months at a time.
And then, so now...
You don't hear that job at the career fair.
You definitely don't.
You don't hear that.
No, you definitely don't. And so you went from that to now being a photographer.
So
you still do both.
I still clock in.
You still do both.
Yeah,
that's
I still clock
that's
in.
the beauty of you sharing that story is because a lot of people will hear it and they're like, oh, I have to jump ship. I have to like, if I want to be an entrepreneur, I have to not have my job and all that good stuff. I still have a 9 to 5 and, you know, I run the studio and I have a couple of other things happening passively that have opened my eyes to a whole new world. Right. And as I go through that journey, I just feel like there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
There's so much more that I can tap into. So you now in photography, how has that like developed? Like where do you feel? Do you feel like you're a professional photographer?
I do feel like I'm a professional photographer. However, I know those areas that I still need to learn in and develop. I'll give you a prime example, PR and photographers. PRs, depending on what you do, especially in the fashion world, PRs are very, very important tool both ways. But as a professional photographer, I still know that there's areas that I can develop, and there's jobs that I have denied, and some of the PRs know that. There's jobs that I've denied because I said I don't feel comfortable in this area, but I can direct you to someone who knows better, you know, who's an expertise in that area. So it goes back to having a conscience about what you do too as well, you know, and it's not just about the dollar bill. But I do think that I'm a professional photographer.
It's awesome.
Can I ask a question?
Do it.
Where do you think you need improvement?
I would say more of a studio setting.
Okay.
I would say more of a studio setting because I'm mostly a natural light photographer. That's where I feel my strength. So I believe more in a studio setting. Okay. So that's why I always reach out to photographers who I know that consistently work in a studio setting. Shout out to Filippo. My goal is to shadow him because he works with agencies and he works in a studio setting all the time. And the beautiful thing about Filippo is that he says, hey, you, if I have a shoot, you're more than welcome to assist while on set. So if he tells me to go grab this, go grab that, I'm going to do whatever it takes. There's nothing that I feel like I'm above. So that's where I need my strength a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the whole point of self-development. It's just you putting yourself out there to be vulnerable in a situation where you're going to learn from someone or you're going to go and try to find the information. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going back to what you were saying earlier, it's like, why did I listen to a younger person that, you know, if you look at the dynamic of an older, I've established a business, I've had all this experience, why would I listen? Someone that I just met through the DM, and now he's telling me to do X, Y, and Z. When I grew up in the generation of the blog becoming great and dying, and then now being adapted to SEO, PR and marketing, and a lot of other stuff, I felt like I just needed to put the student hat on. And I feel like if you want to try to go on the road of self-development, you have to be comfortable putting that humble hat. Yeah. Like, yo, I don't know everything. Even though I may think I do, I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. So I went and I started doing it, man. And like I'm telling you, in 6 months, the success that I've had in my personal brand is something that took him about 5 years. Mm-hmm. But that's a testament to, if someone has the information, if they've gone through the hoops, if they're offering the advice, try and listen. Mm-hmm. Like, I know life is life's sometime, but try and listen, write it down, whatever, reflect on it, because you never know. Yeah. You never know who you might meet and who might share that one nugget that'll unlock something in you to put you on the right path to your true purpose in life. So it's been a fun conversation, man. Yeah. You got anything to add?
What makes an expert an expert?
Somebody who never wants to stop learning. I don't know. I guess that's an something to add around that, but somebody who never wants to start learning, or somebody who really carry themselves with confidence and they can go right in and execute on whatever their whatever their expertise is. Somebody who can immediately go in and execute on that and not have to second guess it or just.
Would you consider yourself a merchant mariner expert?
No.
Why not?
hands down, because there's still levels in my career that I may go to. You know, I haven't hit my pinnacle yet, but if this were to be my pinnacle, being what you call a A.B. Tankerman PIC, if that were my pinnacle, I'm to a point to where I'm happy. I'm like, I'm content, because like when is enough for you to stop chasing? Like my wife asked me, she said, babe, you know, is that what you really want? Do you want to become captain? Captain is like the pinnacle when it comes to being on a ship.
Okay.
That's the pinnacle. You know, and that's not what I want, because I don't want the responsibility. Of course, is the money there? Hell yeah, the money's there. But at the same time, it's not just about money for me. It's like, how can I mitigate stress, make a decent or great income, and have that middle line, and not trading your fucking time for that.
Are you a podcast expert?
No.
Why not?
I never want to be an expert, ever. If you'd asked me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, man, I want to be an expert, right? I want to be, because I feel like what makes an expert, in my point of view, is someone that is going to continuously learn their craft. And if you think about it, it's a never-ending cycle. It's an infinite cycle. I will forever be learning podcasting, because podcasting may evolve. It originated as talk radio. And then the evolution of talk radio led us here. And then distribution allowed us to be on every device now. And then the technology allowed it to be easier for people to produce this type of stuff. Yeah. But I'm forever going to be learning. Yesterday alone, I was sitting with Fernando, which is one of the guys that does R&R here. Like, he does research and development for all sorts of really cool stuff in the studio. And he had done all the homework on all this new gear that he had just bought. And I was there, I was just hanging out with him, and I was like, tell me about it. Teach me about it. I don't have the time to dedicate to that specific tool, but share with me what you've learned. And that's why I think if you want to be a true expert, you need to be a good facilitator first.
Okay.
And I think that the conversation between facilitation and being an expert is where you'll find that flow that you're willing to still tap in, but then tap out to get the real world experience. Like for you being on boats, the evolution of the technology in boats is going to change.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have experience in the field you're in, but at some point you won't.
Right.
And you're going to be, again, a new person.
Yeah. Elon's going to come out with the tanker that don't need you watching.
Right.
That you could be at home remote controlling
the cyber
or whatever,
tank.
right?
Literally. And to add to that, actually, the industry has shifted a lot when it comes to learning how to plot, your latitude and longitude. That's like, you learn that in maritime school, which is fine because there's a lot of, you have your officers. It's learned in maritime school. However, now it has gotten to a point to where some of the ships that I've been on, you're not logging your longitude and latitude every single hour, your current positioning every single hour. It's all computer based. So if you're not consistently practicing that, if all your comms go down, because it's all satellite based. If your comms go down, do you know how to pull out that, to be able to plot and,
And I'm not trying to knock people that have
navigate.
that decades worth of experience navigation and then say that, the new kid is going to be more smarter than you because you haven't decided to learn this new technology or whatever. I feel like you're going to be useful depending on the problem.
Yeah.
Computers go down. Guess what?
Right.
That 80-year-old guy that's sitting downstairs is just cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah.
With the back brace.
Yo.
One knee brace.
Right?
Yeah.
Pull out the map because we need homie right now.
Because that's
right?
all he knows.
That's all he knows, right? So I feel like that's where life is just going to put you in those situations where either the knowledge you currently have is going to solve the problem, or you may need to tap into some stuff that you had learned way back.
Yeah.
So full circle, we had an awesome conversation today. Definitely, I felt like it went really well. We got a lot of really good nuggets. But tell the people where they can find you. Give them a little IG, all that good stuff. You could
Yes,
look
sir.
at the camera, no big
So
deal.
you can follow me on Instagram at Zone4 Shoots, ZONE, the number 4, SHOOTS. I'm on in the bio is a link tree where it gives you access to my direct line, WhatsApp, my website, and everything else. Linktree is a good tool.
Awesome. And as you guys know, you're at Podthelab on IG. We are going to be developing the website and a lot of really cool stuff coming in 2024. B, where can they find you?
BarionMcQueen.com. I feel like I need to start when I'm on the labs, start including Frame by Da Vinci because a lot of people know Da Vinci as this entity that shoots, right?
Yeah, they don't know Barion.
They don't know Barion. They don't know
us
it's the same person sometimes, so I have to preface that. But yeah, DaVinciFramed.com is my work, and then BarionMcQueen.com is my personal.
Dope.
So if you want to personally know me, hit one. You want to shoot, hit the other.
Right? Hopefully you guys learned a lot of information from this, and at the very least you're inspired to learn some new things. And I hope you guys check out these guys' profiles. You can find me at Famous Angel, thefamousangel.com. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.